What's going on, guys? It's EP from the Coaches Vault. I got a couple great coaches here. All right, we got Terrance, we got Dustin, we got Marcus, and we got Leo. So today for the Coaches Vault, we're going to be talking about two things. So we're going to go over a case study, just a random case study, and we're going to go over our squat progression for that person. Okay, and I'll explain that in a second. The next one after that, all right, and Terrance, you're going to have to kind of remember, I'm going to call you out. You're going to have to kind of remember who sent you this. But we have a follower's question from Terrance. How do you find balance between living healthy and having a life? I'm going to have fun with that one. I got a whole shit for that one. All right, but that's going to be that might be my next article. But anyway, so why don't we go over the case study first, and then we'll go from there. So this is Leo's question. I thought it was great, and it's a great time, especially that people are getting back to the gym and new trainers are trying to figure out their trying to get better. So why don't we go ahead? All right, so the case study is a 40-year-old woman. She's a teacher, not a stripper. We kind of decided that last second. What? True. But she's a teacher. She has no athletic experience at all. And she's never seen the inside of a weight room other than just walking into Planet Fitness and walking out. That's really it. So why don't we go first? Since Leo came up with the idea, why don't we ask Leo, what will you do first with her?
Okay, so the first exercise I'd start with, and we're just going to go ahead and pretend like we already screened her. She doesn't have any pre-existing injuries, no like knee problems, no hip problems, no lower back problems, because that could be like a whole 20 hours with the video going through all that. So she's perfectly fine. She just has no experience with it. First thing I'm going to have her do is stay seated in a chair and then get up. And then from that point, I'm going to see how if her shoulders go way past her knees to get up, if she can keep her core tight getting up, if she needs assistance getting up, if she's got to put her hands on her knees to get up. But the first thing I always start with clients, especially older clients, is just seeing how easily they can get up off a chair, because that is like the most basic thing, especially a teacher does your whole day. So if you struggle with that, there's no reason to go past that starting point right there.
Okay. All right. Marcus, what would you do first? So let's break it into parts. Why don't we go, what would we do first, and then after that point, and then how we transition to back squat. Let's break it up into that. So let's do that. So what would you do first for this lady that's just walking in?
So what I would do first is just one, I would just assess a squat that she can do. I want to get a detailed understanding of like what is a squat to her, and see what limitations she has. So I'll have her do a body weight squat, either holding like onto a rail or even holding on to a TRX, and just have her just naturally squat. Because from there, if she can perform the exercise, but maybe she's leaning too far forward or she's leaning to the sides, then I need to know that I have to figure out from there, like, okay, is it, a core issue? Is it more of a, hips being displaced? If she's favoring one side compared to the other, so that way it helps me break it down a little bit easier. Okay. Just watching it.
Yeah, just seeing. All right, Dustin.
I like the chair idea.
I also love your glasses, by the way.
Thank you. They don't actually do anything. They just block out the blue light,
Hey, blue light blockers are the shit.
Yeah. I might have to go get that. But anyway, go ahead before I really
highly recommend. But I'd kind of just ask her, show me a couple air squats, a couple body weight reps, see what the ankles do, see what the knees do, see what the upper body does. And if she says this is as low as I can go and she's only in a quarter squat, then we're going to go from there and work on her mobility, ankle mobility, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of just see what she thinks her squat is.
Yeah, of course. All right, Terrance.
And Dustin pretty much took my answer. But saying like if the screening's fine with the knees, low back, like no pre-existing injuries, I always like to just I'll demonstrate a squat, but I'll tell them like, all right, show me your squat, because I'm trying to see what their idea of the squat pattern is. I'm looking at to see how far they might have to move their legs, see if they have excessive forward lean, just looking at the posture of their lower back. And I usually tell them to stick their arms out just to give them a counterbalance. And from there, I'll say, all right, arms around the chest and hands behind the ears, just to kind of see the differences between like the different counterbalances. to see what the squats look like, and then from there, just kind of start progressing her into the next level, if it even good enough to progress into the next level.
Yeah, for sure. So I would kind of do. I mean, obviously I'm last, so I'm gonna do a mixture of what everybody else said. So I would go.
He's stealing.
Shut your mouth.
Stealing ideas.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. You always interrupt me, man. We're not gonna make this like a gimmick thing. Let me talk, and then you can talk after. Okay? I was nice to you. Okay. Anyway, all right. But I would go ahead and just be like, I'll demonstrate it, but I'll kind of demonstrate it as loosely as I can to kind of see her coachability also. So I'm going to go ahead and be like, all right, well, I want your feet apart. I want you this. I want you to do that. I want you to do this, and give her limited cues to not only see if she actually understood my cues, but then go from there. So I want to see your coachability from the start. But then I'll see her squat, and then if she's not reaching a certain point or whatever like that, I'll go from the bottom up. I'll see if her ankle mobility is the issue with the wall test. Okay, seeing if she can drill her knee past her toes, and then I'll go ahead and I'll go through a hip test, which usually determines that like she has a glute issue or this and that. You really have to play with that now, bro. Yes. But yeah. So I'll basically just see her. I'll cue her very, very, very very, very limited with minimal cueing, and then I would just basically see her ankles, how she moves and stuff like that. I mean, we all know like you usually see five or six good squats or 5 or 6 what they think squats are, and you're like, all right, well, that's a fucking problem, and then you can just go from there. But yeah, so after our initial test, what would we do? Kind of progressing her to like, well, let's go from progress her from absolutely nothing to front squat. What steps would you take? What movements would you use? And about how long would you kind of take to transition her to that kind of spot? Like, how long would you kind of break these movements up depending on her? Why don't we go backwards? Why don't we go Terrance first, so you don't steal anybody's stuff? Okay, and then next time I'll go first, so I don't steal nobody's stuff.
Wait, you go first because you just went last?
No, just let Terrance go, man.
I know, right? You're supposed to go first, dude.
No, I did all the talking. Let Terrance go. Let me host.
How are you gonna make rules and then don't follow the rules?
Bro, man, I've been up since 4 o'clock. Can we just do it my way today?
Whatever, man. All right.
Go ahead, Terrance.
All right. So if I'm looking, one of the big things that I'm looking for in the squat is I want to see the hip pattern. Like I know a big issue that a lot of people have is like the hips shooting back when they're coming up from their squat. You know, just lack of glute engagement or just lack of core staying tight. So if they're having like issues with shooting their glutes out, what I'll typically do, I do like to use a very light weight, either sometimes a 2.5 or like a 5-pound plate or like a kettlebell. Just as they go down to push out, get them to hold their squat at the bottom, and then as they come up, just kind of bring the weight back toward the chest to see if they can just use that as a counterbalance to teach them how to stay under their hips. Mm-hmm. So a big thing that I use that a lot, and I like to make people pause their squats a lot at the bottom. I think pause anything is probably one of the best things you can do, especially if you're trying to teach like muscle recruitment and teaching how to control your pattern and using isometrics and really just moving the pattern nice and slow. So if I could take like a dumbbell or a kettlebell nice and light and get them just to practice keeping their hips under themselves and they squat while keeping their back flat, then we could look on to going into maybe some of the bigger movements like a barbell afterwards.
Okay. All right. Dustin. And then I'll go, just so I don't steal too many people's stuff.
Well, admit to stealing then.
I do admit I'm stealing.
All right.
I'm just like, no, I don't. So all my clients out there, I do great work. It's all original. It comes from my head. Anyway, go ahead.
But I kind of just teach them the body weight squat, the bone rhythm. Working with Coach Chris EP, at LSU. He teaches the bone rhythm, the knees bending at the same time as the hips bending going down. So I'd work on their body weight squat, making sure, they can hit depth, all that stuff, as well as working on ankle mobilities because, most people nowadays ankles. Personally, my ankles are shit. They're terrible.
Right there.
It's so super underrated. People don't understand. That's the base of everything. Like if it doesn't usually come from up to down, it usually comes from bottom to up.
Exactly. If there's something going on with your feet or your ankles, then everything up the line is going to be out of whack.
Yeah.
So that, focusing, making sure they have that tripod foot, and all of that stuff, progressing from the bodyweight squat to a goblet squat with the kettlebell, and, keep moving from there. Yeah. Focusing on the core strength a lot too, because if they're not able to brace properly, they're not going to be able to pull themselves down into their squat, which, I mean, a lot of people now, they think about just dropping down into their squat and standing up. Yeah. When in all reality, most of the time you're going to want to pull yourself down and then push the ground away. Yeah. So 100%. You kind of go from body weight squat to goblet squat before getting to the barbell and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go next. Okay. Just so nobody gets mad, Marcus. But so what I would do, so after the initial test, depending on her mobility, I'll actually start with a body weight box squat. What I learned is that a lot of people like that kinesthetic kind of like cue. Yeah, I mean, because I can only teach them so much. I love teaching people, like, you have to feel like the correct movement. So a lot of the times we're like, this is where I want you to stop. Lower the box. Okay, this is it. And then from there, I mean, we can add a goblet depending on like the strength of that stuff. And obviously a goblet and putting some weight in it will actually help people gain a little bit more depth. But I'll go body weight squat, box body weight squat, then I'll go goblet, and then depending on her mobility, I'll kind of take the box out or something like that. And then I'll usually stay around the goblet for not an extended period of time, but depending on the person. And what I like to say is own the movement. So like Terrance said, like people like to go ahead and you like to do ISOs. Well, I do like fucking extensive eccentric work. You know what I mean? So to own that movement, to gain that strength eccentrically, then I'll go ISO for extended period of time, just to own that bottom position and understand where things are. You know what I mean? Because if you go like down and back up, some people be like, all right, well, I don't feel like where I need to stop, or I don't feel this. That eccentric teaches you everything. That isometric teaches you everything. Then I'll go to the goblet squat. I'll go to front squat, and then I'll actually teach them how to hold the bar correctly, the position. And then maybe like I'll go back and forth between that for a little bit. For me, risk versus reward, depending on the client. I don't like to go back squat just for safety reasons. That's just me. Like you can get a good load coming from a front squat, but a lot of the times, a lot of these clients, like, I mean, you know how it is. Like you can't cheat a front squat. I mean, but you can cheat the shit out of a back squat. You know what I mean? Like you can just get and come back up, and then you just got a back problem. You just blew a client's back out. So I don't see the risk versus reward. But depending on my client, if I have a football player, like, bro, we're back squat. I mean, but for this lady, like, we might never need to back squat. And that's just my thought process with it. You know what I mean? Like, we can front squat, and that'll probably be it. And if we put 225 on the front squat and you're fucking 40 years old and you're a teacher / stripper, like, you're going to go ahead. We're going to go. Yeah, but that's me. So I'll work on the responses, the cues of it, and I'll go goblet. I'll go a lot of eccentric, isometric work, go front squat, maybe even like double kettlebell or single kettlebell to kind of work on that anti-rotation, depending on how she works. And then I'll go front squat, back squat for my teacher / stripper. Marcus, I just want to keep saying, I don't know why I enjoy the word stripper right now.
Hey, nobody's blaming you, man.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
You just got to do what you got to do, man. Did you see the video that I sent it to Marcus? There's a video in Florida where the strippers are doing a drive-by in Florida. That is only you.
Did not see that.
Yeah.
A drive-through strip club, yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's just crazy. It's just like, I mean, the thing that sucks is that they start losing money because then now you see them with the lights on.
Oh, I mean? That's true.
Okay. Anyway, let's go back on topipic. I'm sorry.
You good? No, but it's
okay, anyway, go ahead.
No, what I would do is similar to what you would do. It will be a deep squat R&T. It would be a deep squat R&T, which is a reactive neuromuscular training. I'll do it on the box for the person for safety reasons, just in case if the person's older. What that is, an R&T, whereas that the band is pulling you in the direction that a certain body part is moving in. So the band we pulling them forward. So now they have to learn how to properly sit back onto their heels, push their butt out, so that way they're not falling forward as they're doing a squat. I'll keep doing that with them until, I feel like they're comfortable to perform a body weight squat without them, leaning forward. We'll add, add a goblet squat to it for progression. And then from there, double kettlebell, just like Evan said, just keep progressing by adding more weight, but different, different things for them to get more stimulated. So from a single goblet to a double. And then, once we work on flexibility with, shoulders, lats, then we can progress to doing a front squat, because not everybody can actually properly hold, almost an Olympic bar and a proper squat, front squat, formation. So, but if you can, you can. If you can't, then you'll learn how to do it. So by taking a lot of mobility work on top of it. So,
okay.
Keep in mind.
Okay. Leo.
All right, so I'm right there with the last two. I stay living on the box. I love most of Louis Simmons' training, and so for my powerlifting splits, I rarely just do a normal back squat, comp squat, up until the last couple of weeks before competition. Most of it's done on the box for tons of reasons, including what y'all mentioned, the safety and feeling your muscles work, having that slight pause at the bottom of a squat coming off that box. So how I'd progress this stripper teacher is
thank you.
Is we started off sitting up from the chair. So now we're going to work on having some kind of counterbalance weight. I usually start off with a 5 or 10 pound medicine ball, hold across the chest, and we're going to sit down to the chair. And then I adjust the height based on how good her depth is, how her mechanics are moving, how her hips are moving, how her core is. From that point, as soon as we get the box to parallel, we start adding more weight. And the next step after that is I will actually put the bar on her back. It's empty, obviously, and still keep the box there. So I really don't see a reason to remove a box when I've got weight. And of course, we work air squats and all that good stuff as accessories. As far as the main lift goes, I keep that box on her until she can properly squat with the bar on her back on a box. And then I'd remove that box and then be moving on to the next step.
Yeah.
Going for barbell squat.
I mean, it's an interesting concept to, see everybody go ahead and go through their stuff and then kind of figure out if you're doing things wrong or how they do it. Because it's interesting, because a lot of the times I feel like people rush to the bar, or they go ahead, take too long to the bar, or with your box idea, some people would think that's too long to be on the box. But then if it works for you, it works for you. So I think what all this encompasses with all of our ideas is that if you can coach it and you've seen it work and if you've seen it progress, I think nobody's wrong. Nobody's fucking wrong. I think that's they're all great. Yeah. But if I had to say anything, I think the counterbalance is underrated.
That's the most important. I think
I think that's most important, and that's something that I think I need to do more of, because I think that's counterbalance is 100% overrated teaching general population, because a lot of athletes understand to sit back, but you kind of forget that kind of concept when you train athletes all the time. That counterbalance is fucking great. I gotta actually use it more.
Well, the goblet squat starts so with this teacher stripper, the goblet squat, it goes from her main movement, and once she masters that, owns the movement, like you said, then it doesn't go away. It just becomes an accessory movement.
Exactly.
Or a warm-up.
I think people mistake goblet squat is man, once you're done with it, you're done. I think it's a great accessory. I think people forget that stuff is, man, you don't gotta if you're holding 100 or 120, that core activate, you holding that shit, you get me, and squatting down to ass to grass is tough. And people forget that. They just think back squat, and they don't take the accessories into account. So I think, and again, once that counter, that goblet squat becomes your main movement, in your progression, that counterbalance is a great accessory. You can use these progressions as accessories for your progressions. You know what I mean? So there's all these different ways you can do it. I think they're all fucking great. Okay. But I think What?
Then you also got to remember that, you know, with your client, the progressions could be a lot faster depending on the per person.
Yeah.
And so for other people, it could be a lot slower. So you just got to just make sure you just remind that person, like, hey, you know, the way that we're going to progress is going to be entirely based upon how fast you get the concept and how well you can be able to move within those concepts.
Yeah.
So we just got to just tell those, you know, those clients, patience is a virtue.
100%. Trust the process. Just trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, 100%. Like people kind of, and that's the thing where like trainers kind of get that like we have to rush to get here. I mean, because that's what people want to do. I mean, and if you rush, that's how people get hurt because they're not properly trained. But you just got to find that healthy balance between it being too much prepping or not enough prepping. You know what I mean? You got to find a healthy balance to keep your client safe because that's the number one priority. But I think that's good enough for a teacher stripper. Okay, if anybody else.
I do want to ask y'all one question.
But
I was gonna for clients that you do want to get to do barbell back squats, would you wait for them to be able to perform a good barbell front squat first, or that doesn't matter to you guys?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They're two different. They're two different. Yeah, they're two different upright chest, low chest. You get me? That's different ranges of mobility, different ranges of flexibility, like in the hands and stuff like that, and the shoulders.
Yeah, that was my take. But I've read something before where people felt that if you can't do a barbell front squat, you shouldn't jump into a barbell back squat.
No, it should be the case. It should never be the case.
There's some people that even skip the front squat altogether. You get me? And they're great lifters. I mean, it's vice versa. Like, there's people who never do back squat in their fucking life. Like some other lifters they only do front squats. I mean, but even though they do transition it, but like they're fucking strong as shit. So
like a low bar back squat is a completely different movement pattern than a front squat.
Like the bar path is different. The way you hold your chest, like everything's it's just two different movements. I mean, you can't compare the two.
Doing both is the best stuff for sure. You can do both.
Yeah.
Doing both.
Do both. Oh yeah, do both. 100% do both. But I don't think you can't measure them in progression. That's
I agree.
Sense. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It also depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you want to back squat her, like, I mean, fucking, like, why would you want to front squat her? Because then what's gonna happen is that if you front squat her, she's gonna get used to this upright chest so much that she's gonna try to do it when she back squats. Because like, sometimes they don't get the comprehension that they're different. They're just squats to people. I mean, so that's a whole different cueing that you have to kind of do. So I guess it just depends on you. But anyway, all right. Is that anybody else for that topic?
One more little tidbit for squatting and everything that I think. Hey, highly underrated. Squat holds. But like in the bottom of your squat, you know, just sitting there, you don't even have to be weighted, holding on to like the rack behind you, just holding on to that and sitting in the bottom of your squat. I feel like people get away from that too, because you look at little babies, look at toddlers, they walk around when they pick something up.
Yeah.
Perfect ass to grass right there.
Yeah.
And we get away from that.
100%.
Those 10-minute squat holds, I did it for 10 days in a row, like kicked my ass. Like that was just.
Did you progress time or did you pick a time?
No, this is what I saw from like Mark Bell and all that team. So what I progressed is how long I could sit in my squat before I had to stand up. That's what I progressed.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw somebody saying about sit in it for 5 minutes or accumulate 10 minutes throughout the day and stuff like that. And then for me personally, you know, we'd put weight on my back or in a front squat hold and sit in the bottom for a minute.
But and that goes to owning the squat. You know what I mean? That's just like, bro, like if you feel comfortable in that bottom position, bro, you can literally do anything. And I think owning the squat, like I've been reading a lot more, yielding pauses. So like if you say your front squat, all right, and this is the bottom position, or you're back squatting, okay, pause here, pause here, pause here, pause here. And then you just go up fast, or you pause the opposite way, and just owning each position. And it doesn't have to be hard, but just comfortable staying in the upright position, I mean, it works on your work capacity.
I've done those before, and those things burn.
Those things suck.
Those things burn.
Mm-hmm. Those things suck. But that's like for experienced people. But yeah, just own the whole concept. The whole concept of this, if anything, is just own the movement before you move on. Mm-hmm. Or before you feel comfortable moving your people on. Just make sure that they own the movement, or you're comfortable enough that they can own something or a part of it.
Mhm.
Let's move on to the next topic, okay? And nobody else is going to talk to me right now, okay? Anyway, all right. All right, so next up, all right? So, Terrance, do you remember the person that had this question? Or
Absolutely not. But I think it's between two people.
You guys
That's
are
the
wrong,
greatest
man.
answer ever. Like, absolutely.
It's either my homie Jeff or my
No
homegirl
chance.
showed me. So I'm gonna shout
No.
out both.
Okay, we're going to shout out both of them. All right, thank you for this question. So, the question is, how do you find balance between living healthy and having a life? I think that's a great topic because people complain about balancing
fairly-
these two all the time. But because Marcus is kindly trying to interrupt me again, why don't Marcus you go first?
I think it's fairly easy. Like people just overthink things a lot. It's just that when you're going out with people and you're enjoying and you want to have a fun time, this is what I tell my clients, go out, have fun with your friends, but just make smart decisions on the foods that you're going to be eating. If you're going, the entire day and, you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, and then you have your coworkers want to go out, perhaps drink, then tell yourself, okay, maybe that one day I can go out, have a couple of drinks, you know what I mean? But then if they want to do it again, the next day or two, I'll be like, well, you can go out, but then at the same time, be smarter about what you're eating. So maybe while they're over here having, chili cheese fries, maybe have yourself, I'll say go for the salad this time around, or go for some type of this protein aspect, a chicken breast with with a potato, something that, you won't, feel as you won't feel disgusting because having a life is just being social with people. It doesn't mean that you have to eat what everybody else is eating at the same time. So if you're just being able to go out and still eat a really smart diet, while being social and having fun with your friends, no one's gonna care that you ate, a chicken breast with some broccoli or a potato on the side. Like no one's gonna care about that.
Yeah. Um,
Well said.
that's great. That's it. That's great. Okay, why don't we go, Terrance?
I like to figure out what people think of healthy because I think everybody's definition of what healthy is may be a little bit different. Because I look at healthy as like a combination of like your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, like a lot of that combination stuff there, spiritual health, wherever you are in that field. So I think people just I think they just have a bad balance and a bad taste of what their idea of healthy is. So some people might just even like their relationship with foods, kind of what you guys talked about last week. What's your vision of if I eat this food, I'm a bad person, or X, Y, and Z, and it's like you don't have to think of having a clean salad all day long or something like that. If you follow 70% or 80% of your day to where you're just making choices that's going to better your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and just taking care of your body. You know what I mean? Like you can still go out, have a drink, eat cheap foods and things like that. It's just how you do it and how you balance it throughout of your whole lifestyle. Because you can be an extremist, and sometimes the people think they eat overly healthy all day long, and they can be missing nutrients half the time. So technically, it's like, well, you're not that person wouldn't be healthy, but all they're eating is salads or whatever you're just broccoli and shit all day long, but you could be missing a whole bunch of nutrients in so many other different food groups. So I think it's really building that balance between what makes you feel better and what makes you feel that's really what it boils down to, like what makes you feel better and not just like beating yourself up whenever you fall off track, quote unquote.
Okay. We got about 7 minutes, so just to let you guys know. So we'll go Leo and then we'll go Dustin. Okay, so Leo, go ahead.
All right, so exactly what Terrance and Marcus just said. People overthink it too much, and people's relationship with food is just way out there. I think when people say being healthy, they're probably talking about having abs. When in reality, people who are that shredded are generally like some of the most unhealthy people because they're getting that shredded for a competition, and no legit competition is ever healthy. So just understanding that having a completely shredded six pack is like not the end all be all. So what's quote unquote healthy. But I will say a good pro tip if you want to live your life, especially with summertime coming. People want to go to the beach. People want to have beers and drink at the beach or at the pools with their friends. So what I do is on those days that I know I'm going to drink beer, I will have my workout in the morning. I'll have like a combination Chipotle bowl kind of where it's like 90-10 ground beef, a little bit of rice and the fajita veggies. And then I will stay eating just like whatever meat and whatever veggies, not really being picky, and then drink my beer. I think like a huge thing is just if you're gonna drink, just stay away from the carbs while you're drinking, and that usually kind of keeps you on track for that. So
Okay. Levels you out.
that's not like the healthiest thing, but you'll feel a lot better in the morning if you eat that versus eating like a Whataburger at 2:00 in the morning.
No, I don't know what a burger is, but it sounds good though.
You've had Whataburger before.
Delicious, bro.
It is so good.
It's all right, bro.
What?
It's all right, bro. Like it's not like we're not gonna have we got to move on. We're not gonna have this discussion right now. We can have a vault talk about Whataburger and versus everybody else.
We can go a whole fast food vault talk.
Yeah, we could do a whole fast food. I'm totally down for that. Okay. Anyway, Dustin, why don't you go ahead and describe what you think about this one?
Balancing healthy for me is, throughout the week before all of this, my week's fairly busy. I mean, EP, you all know how busy our days can get. So I'll kind of just eat to fuel my day. If I know I'm going to have a heavy training session the next day, then I'll have all those carbs at night and all that stuff. And I'll try and, eat different colored veggies, get my protein sources from different types of meat throughout the week. And then on the weekend, I live with 5 other roommates. So, I mean, there's always something going on the weekend. If they're drinking, I'm not going to stress a beer or 2 on the weekend.
Yeah.
And then, go to bed a little bit early on Sunday to get ready for the next week. But kind of just, having fun, being social. I'll still go out with them, hang out with them and everything. But if I know, 9 beers in is when I start ordering cheese fries and stuff, then I'll stick
stop at 8.
to, my 3. And then
You'll stop at 8.
yeah.
All right.
But
yeah,
kind of just, if you know your limits,
yeah.
don't toy with it. But
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think balancing a healthy, like living healthy and having a life goes to one thing: priorities. One thing. If you want something bad enough, you will make time or you will put in effort to do it. And sometimes people's goals can be like misconstrued, like people, like you guys said, like fake abs or like being this 100% clean all the time. And people have to understand that, but being balanced is huge, but you're prioritizing your balance is important for everything. People kind of forget that. They're like, oh, well, I'm going to have to be clean and I want to be a bodybuilder, so I'm going to have to be 100% on it. And Marcus could tell you, like, he'll eat cake like once a week because he enjoys it, but it makes him feel good. I mean, that goes to everything. You have to make sure that healthy living isn't dieting, doing all this stuff. Like, it's just not fitness. It's healthy mindset, healthy body, and healthy feeling. So prioritizing that over everything else is huge. Go ahead, Mark.
I know I did an example of like last year, like I bodybuilt and I was getting ready for a national show. I was still going out bowling. I was still going to, hanging out with people at different bars. I was still being, doing things with my friends. But I never lost like focus of what I needed to do eating wise. So I was never that person that was like, having, 5 beers. I don't really like beer anyway. So I'll just have, a straight shot of liquor and that'd be okay. Like I'll just drink that, or I'll be the person that, maybe I'll eat before I go out. So that way, if I do go out, I'm not looking to eat something because I'm hungry. So different ways of doing it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and it's also his priorities. Like it's his focus. Some people have these outrageous, non-fucking measurable goals that they want to get to. And because they're not measurable, they don't know how to control them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing where they come to us for guidance and we have to go ahead and give them the knowledge. And sometimes what happens is a priority is finding out like that your priorities are fucked up. You know what I mean? So I think that's huge. It's just a healthy balance of life comes from prioritizing your own balance and understanding what makes you happy. And that goes all into the insecurities of yourself. Yeah, I mean, some people, like when you go out, yeah, I mean, you're focused on your shit. Yeah, I mean, you're focused and you're always focused, but you go out with that one friend and that one friend is like, why, like, you want this? And like, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I want that. I mean, and that what happens is it's not because it's your friend. You're insecure of what he thinks about you not eating that or you not doing this. So once you're balanced with yourself, yeah, I mean, exactly, you gotta cut them off. But once you're balanced with yourself and you understand that, then you can go ahead and things will be better and you'll have a healthier life. Okay, we got less than a minute, so why don't we close this up? Okay, it was a great talk with all you guys. All right, love all you guys, and this is for the viewers. Appreciate your support. A like, a share, subscribe helps us out greatly. Okay, we're still dropping up content, so please take a read on all these great coaches' content that we have going on for you guys. All right, great talk, you guys. I'll talk to you guys very, very soon about an idea I have for the month, kind of celebrating the 1 month of the Coaches Vault. Okay. All right, but thank you guys. I'll see you guys soon. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
See y'all later.
Peace.